Good afternoon. As the chair of the board, my name is Barbara Fuller, and I welcome you to this August 1st, 2023 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our office coordinator, Erin Smith, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Erin.
Thanks, Chair Fuller. There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's board meeting, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you're joining us virtually and are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our communications manager will help you troubleshoot. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the next few days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table near the front door, and it is also posted on our website. And now I'll turn it over to Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Erin. I now call this August 1st, 2023 regular meeting to order and ask Erin to call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Llamas is absent. Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Present.
And Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Present.
And the following directors are in attendance: Managing Director Cheryl Siddle, Assistant Director of Engineering Brent Schlack, Director of Operations Adam Lape, and Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Thank you. If you would join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support. Any discussion, any additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, Erin, if you would please.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, we have approved the agenda. Next item, our acceptance of minutes. We have two sets of minutes today. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of July 18th, 2023 as presented, appearing on pages 3 through 12 of the packet?
I so move.
Support. Any discussion, additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, Erin, please.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. May I now have a motion to accept the working session minutes of July 18th, 2023 as presented, appearing on pages 13, 14, and 15 of the packet? So move.
Second.
Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, Erin, if you would please.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Erin will now explain how people may be recognized to offer comments.
Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For virtual attendees, we have provided some instructions on the screen on how to participate and make public comment. If you're attending this meeting virtually and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand now. If you dialed into the meeting from your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. Our communications manager will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time and will announce your username or last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. And then for our in-person attendees, we will start with those of you who have signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to make comment, and I'll notify you when it is your turn. At this time, we do not have anyone that would like to make public comment.
Thank you, Erin. Next item is written communications appearing on pages 16, 17, and 18 of the packet. Anything any of the commissioners wish to draw our attention to? All right, we'll move on. Passing comment to public comment because there was none. New business. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 4, background on pages 19 and 20?
I so move.
Support. I support it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Anything you want to ask about, commissioners? Aaron, if you would, please.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green
Yes.
and Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes, the consent agenda is approved as presented. Next, we have 3 action items. May I have a motion to approve action item number 1 to cast our vote for the following candidates for the 2023 County Road Association Self-Insurance Fund. We often hear this referred to as CRASIF. For the Board of Trustees, I'm suggesting that Tom Dottie from Mackinac County Road Commission, Ken Halka from Muskegon County Road Commission, and Beth Hunt from Lenawee County Road Commission, as there are 3 to elect and only 3 candidates.
Madam Chair, I move that the board approves a vote for Tom Doty from Mackinac County, Mr. Ken Hooker from Muskegon County Road Commission, and Beth Hunt from Lenawee County Road Commission.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would, please.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs
Yes.
and Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes. Action item number 1 is approved. Action item number 2. May I have a motion to approve this item, to approve the 2023 second quarter budget amendments as presented? And as you may recall, we covered this in our last working session. Background on pages 44 through 78.
Madam Chair, that upon the recommendation of the Director of Finance and IT and the concurrence of the Managing Director, the board hereby approves the 2023 second quarter budget amendments as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion, any questions for our Director of Finance? Any comments you'd like to make, Mr. Ackerman? Oh, waiting for it to go green?
Yeah, there we go. So just a couple of brief comments. As we discussed at the working session, if there were any changes, we would communicate that to the board from what we covered at the working session, and there are none. Some of the actual numbers did change a little bit, but I think I told the board that was just preliminary numbers until we finalize the books and so on. But there were no significant things that came up from the working session to now. There were no, other projects we wanted to include, no additional funds that were available or anything. So basically what you see here is what we talked about at the working session.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Dan? No? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Aaron, if you would, please.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs
Yes.
and Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes, all set.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
We have one of our county commission liaisons. Wait, no, sorry, I skipped one. One more item. Well, snap. There it is. May I have a motion to approve action item number 3, schedule special meetings to interview candidates for the position of managing director and to post the appropriate notices. Background is on pages 79 through 81, and the motion itself appears on page 23.
Madam Chair, the board hereby schedules special meetings on August 14th and 15th, 2023 to interview candidates for the managing director position and direct staff to post notices of the special meetings in accordance with the Open Meetings Act.
I
that
second.
motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion about the motion at all? And please refer to, in the packet, the schedule for those 2 meetings, which appears on page 81. Aaron, if you would, please.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green
Yes.
and Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes. Action item number 3 is approved. Next up, we have the reports of our county commission liaison. I see Commissioner Sanders is with us today. Commissioner Sanders, good afternoon. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us or questions for us?
Good afternoon. We do have a board meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 5:30. All are welcome to join virtually, in person, or to submit any questions or concerns that people may have by email. I regret that I was not able to actually come out and look and play with the toys today, your equipment. So I may be asking to call Commissioner Privilege and see if I can schedule another time to be able to come out and actually look at your equipment. I appreciated the presentations from facilities and equipment. I was very thorough, learned a lot, as I always do on these calls. And other than that, did have an opportunity to attend the National Association of Counties conference in hot Austin, Texas, a week and a half ago. So got good information there. And other than that, I don't have anything else to add to you. Thank you for giving me a minute to share.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I am absolutely certain we'd be delighted to host you to take a look at the huge pieces, and they're expensive too, of equipment that we have here. Just make the arrange. Sharon, I'm sure we'll reach out to you to schedule a time.
Okay.
Thanks for your interest.
Thank you.
Any questions for the commissioner from the commissioners? All right, we will move on to the report of the road commissioners, starting with Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the 19th and the 20th of July, I attended the McChrysip Annual Conference in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And I also attended the negotiating committee meeting, as well as the legal issues forum. On the 27th of July, I attended the meeting of SEMCOG. And I also had an opportunity to review the video clip that was sent by Dan Ackerman regarding their in Washington State, their proposed pay per mile project. It was an interesting video.
Anything further?
No,
All set?
thank you.
Okay. Commissioner McCollum.
Yes, Madam Chair. On July 19th, I attended the CRA meeting for the Commissioners Committee. In that meeting, we discussed an update on the 2023 annual seminar, an update on a 2-hour education training webinar, and there's a call for commissioners to review the commissioner's handbook and give any feedbacks. So if we need to update it. Update on a coordination of annual 2024-2025 seminars with CRASIV, annual business meeting, and we also discussed legislative updates. On July 19th, I also attended the McChrysip's 39th annual workshop, and one of the topics was on road abandonments, and that was very interesting. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Remind people of that.
Yes, and I also, Madam Chair, would like to remind people of the Commissioner Seminar, October 22nd and 23rd in Mount Pleasant. And if you look on the schedule, you'll see that one of the commissioners is on here. That's me, Joanne McCollum. I'm going to be doing special presentations. So please come out, and it's a good conference. And look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you.
Commissioner Smers.
No report at this time.
No report. I will report that on July 25th, I attended the virtual public meeting regarding the North Territorial Road and Dexter Town Hall Road Safety Improvement Project. It was very well conducted. I think there were over 30 virtual participants, so there was a significant amount of interest. I don't recall that there were questions or concerns expressed about that project at that time. I have also reviewed the draft July 2023 Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, otherwise known as BEAD. It's a 5-year action plan issued by the Michigan High-Speed Internet Office and the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. There are some references made to right-of-ways that may be of interest to those of us who deal with roads. I have reviewed the December 31st, 2022 Washtenaw County Road Commission Actuarial Valuation Report. And I will note that there was no July meeting of the Washtenaw Area Transportation Study. Friendly reminder, Managing Director transition notes are on page 80 of the packet. We will do interviews on August 14th and 15th in the morning. August 7th, this organization will be hosting the Southeast Council of Road Commissions meeting, where the County Road Association's draft 2024 legislative priorities will be discussed amongst other items of interest. I have nothing further, and at this point, we'll turn it over to our Managing Director for her report, staff reports, and any other updates.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuller. As you indicated, we will be hosting the CRA Southeast Council meeting on Monday. So staff has been very busy preparing for that. We look forward to hosting. It's kind of fun to do every couple of years. And then also that we have been starting the efforts towards the renewal and restoration of the 4-year county road and non-motorized millage. So Matt McDonnell and I had the pleasure of meeting with Greg Dill last week to sort of start that conversation after the presentation that we made before the Board of Commissioners earlier in the month. And I look forward to ongoing dialogue with Mr. Dill, just trying to figure out how to best provide information to them so that we continue to move forward. Obviously, this is a very important source of funding for the Road Commission as well as for the residents of Washtenaw County. So we want to make sure that we're putting forth our best effort and that there is a lot of public involvement, communication, coordination with the townships and whatnot involved. So we want to make sure we have plenty of lead time in moving that forward. So lots of effort there on behalf of staff.
And there's still some uncertainty about the primary election date for next year, right?
Correct. We have requested to be on the state and local primary ballot, which right now is scheduled for August of 2024, but apparently the legislature has until the end of this year to determine whether or not they will move it to June of 2024. Since that obviously moves it up 2 months, our intent would be to hope for the best and plan for the worst. So we will be prepared should it be June. Obviously, if it remains August, that gives us 2 months more to, continue to coordinate and educate people on the millage. But we will be prepared should it be June, just in case. And also knowing that absentee ballots, all of that goes out that much further in advance. So when you start doing the math on that, it gets to be a pretty tight time frame, even though it's only August of 2023.
Right. Well said.
So with that, unless there's questions on any of the information in the board packet, I'm happy to start turning it over to staff for their reports.
I don't see any questions.
Okay, excellent. First up, we have Brent Schlack, who's the Assistant Director of Engineering.
Hi, good afternoon. Brent Schlack, Assistant Director of Engineering. I just got a few items to update. Based on the last meeting, Matt had updated that Michigan Ave was looking to open. That did get opened on July 20th. We did start the Carpenter Road project north of Michigan Ave this week. That does have some lane restrictions, but that'll be a mill and fill. Parker Road culvert, that's continuing. We did have a little bit of a delay there with the storm that we had. We had some excess water that we were waiting to kind of drain out, but that's ongoing. Whitaker and Bemis, the curb was installed through that project. Matt had reported last time that we were putting some gravel and limestone down. And so the curb did get installed. We'll be doing flat work next, would be the center islands and the splitter islands. Textile Road, that paving is done and that's open. We are working with Adam and his crews on chip seal. And I'm sure he'll update everybody on that. But we're working on pavement marking for that, trying to get those marked out. Once they fog seal that does get pretty dark. And so we want to get some paint on that as quickly as possible. From the storm, we did have to deal a little bit, and I'm sure Adam will update us on that. We had 40 signals that were out or in flash. And so those are all back up and running. Other than that, we are just preparing for future projects, putting plans, specifications together. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. How long did it take for the signals to come back up?
It varied.
Mm.
We had some brownouts where we had, where a signal would come back up and then it would go back out. I would be happy to report that our battery backups did work for a period of time. And then power get restored, but it wasn't long enough to charge some of those batteries. So for the most part, I think Saturday was when everything pretty much came back. I think we had some because of voltage fluctuation Monday that kind of went into flash. So we had to go out and reset those. But for the most part, everything was up and running on Saturday.
I thought traffic was being really well behaved,
Yeah,
treating all those complicated intersections as four-way stops.
yeah, I agree. I think that it's finally getting through to the public that they are a multi-way stop and they're abiding by that. So yeah, it was a good effort from our crews to try and get those things back on, working with DTE. DTE had a lot of work to do during that storm.
Any questions for Brent?
Yeah.
No? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Brent.
Yep.
Next up, we have Dan Ackerman, Director of IT and Finance.
Hello again, Commissioners. Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT. So I want to try to avoid being Joey Blue Skies, but I have a lot of good, positive things to share with you.
You
So
just go right ahead, Dan. I will take notes.
yes, no, it's always good to hear good news. So I'll start with IT. As you arrived to the building, you probably saw lots of activity around, and Chris and Josh and Dennis and the Building and Grounds team were busy installing 22 of our ergonomic desks. And, they had a great plan. They had some great communication, and the rollout seemed flawless to me. I think around 8 o'clock they were done. So it was amazing, just absolutely amazing. And already I've heard from several staff that they love their desks, and they're still kind of getting used to, where do I put my pencils or where do I put this or that? But just, a lot of enthusiasm from the project. And so it was nice to see it completed. And for those that don't have one like myself, I think I shared before that I didn't need one. I'll probably start getting jealous real soon. There's one person in finance that has it. So she loves it, and I imagine we might do another wave of these in the future, though. So, but pretty exciting to see that project to completion. And then the next thing that IT is going to be working on is the OneDrive migration rollout. So, but it's nice to get this project done. So I'd like to talk Michigan Transportation Funds just briefly. It's on the last page of your document. So another really good month. June of 23 was up 9% from 2022, and year to date it's up 6% from last year. Trending well. I don't think it's trending well enough to propose any budget adjustments. As I shared with you,
Okay.
We are not proposing any changes from what we presented at the working session. But certainly if this trend continues by the end of the year, we can hopefully make an adjustment on that. Commissioner Green, I appreciate you reading that article or watching the video on what Washington State is doing as far as trying to modernize how they're collecting taxes for roads. A lot of interesting information in there. 14 states have pilot programs. Michigan does not, which I found interesting. So I was kind of digging a little deeper, and it's something that in particular you, Commissioner Green, has brought up from time to time. Well, what is the impact of EVs on the gas tax? And, what are trends like, what are others doing? So I thought that was a great article that kind of summed up what some other, in my opinion, more progressive states are doing. So then I felt like I was going down a rabbit hole a little bit. So I started looking at percentage of EVs by state, and Michigan is actually lagging behind. Some states were close to double digits, and we were, I think, 2 or 3% or something of Michigan residents have EVs. So I thought that was an interesting stat. Are you familiar with the CAFE standards? The National Highway Transportation Board, I believe, has targets for fuel efficiency. And by 2032, they want that to be 58 miles per gallon. So certainly that will have an impact. I guess the current for 2026, the current one is 49. So you can imagine and this would be, I believe, for new vehicles. So you can imagine, if this is the standard going forward, it will create a lot of challenges with the current funding mechanism. So while I say it doesn't impact us now or in the short term, you can see the further out we go, the more challenges there are. So really hopeful that the state of Michigan takes it seriously. We don't want to put our heads in the sand. It's coming, and we don't want to get into a situation that we were in prior to 2017 when there was a gas tax increase. So I don't know if there's any questions on that at all, but I just found that was interesting information to share.
I wished I'd remembered that piece this morning when we had 3 senators.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sitting
was
here
sitting
thinking there's
there.
something else and.
We'll have another opportunity.
I was sitting there like, should I say anything? I'm like, this is
Sure.
probably not the
Sorry.
time and the place. They're being kind enough to show up and say hello, and I didn't want to start peppering them with questions or anything, but certainly it might be appropriate for legislative breakfasts, and I know we have them here from time to time, but and I know we do bring those things up. So next I'd like to talk about this report that hopefully all of you maybe have had a chance to look at. Just a quick overview on this. I won't go into too much depth, and I know some of you have seen these reports and some of you haven't. This is what's called our OPEB report. OPEB is short for Other Post-Employment Benefits, not including pension, because obviously our pension is kind of a separate thing. So retiree health insurance, life insurance, if there's a retiree optical dental, things like that. So the GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, requires us to have a report every 2 years. So this is as of December 31st, 2022. So obviously the previous report we had was from 2020, but we're required to at least have a full-blown report by an actuary and determine funded status and unfunded liabilities and just all the information because it's included in our financial reports. And so the readers of our financials can see how much what obligations does the Road Commission have as far as pension or health insurance. But the GASB does not require us to fund this at all. So no funding requirement. So our funded ratio, there are probably some governmental agencies where their funded ratio is 0 because they're just saying we don't have any funds to, we don't have any extra funds that we can attribute to it. I feel very fortunate here at Washtenaw Road Commission. The commissioners at the time said, we realize it's not a funding requirement, but we are taking this seriously. We are making a commitment to our retirees, and we're going to start funding this. And so I feel really good that I feel we were kind of ahead of the game a little bit and started trying to put what we can towards this unfunded liability. So just a couple of stats I'd like to share. If you could turn to page 1, which is right after the executive summary. So not the actual first page, but it's you'll see the executive summary. It's about 3 pages in, and then where it says page 1 at the bottom. Okay.
Ready.
So our funded ratio from this last report in 2020 was about 59%. Per PA 202, that's that state of Michigan report that I have to submit information every year. A plan is considered underfunded in their eyes if it's below 40%. So 59.3%, that's pretty good. But certainly happy to report that increased to 67.4%. So that is phenomenal. You know, to make that those type of gains in 2 years. And again, this report was as of 12/31/22. The stock markets weren't great. So, you know, your investment returns were not great at that time, and still being at 67.4% is awesome. And with all the numbers in here, it's my understanding that your funded ratio is the best way to say, well, how is the road commission doing? You could look at your unfunded liabilities, but if you look at the dollars, even if they increase, it's based on dollars from 2 years ago. So the value of a dollar increases, you know, over the years. So that's not the best indicator of how we're doing. But the funded ratio, again, is what I was coached to say, you know, how's the road commission doing? Are we making any gains? So I shared this report with our auditors, of course, and our auditors were also very pleased. And they said that they felt that amongst their clients, we have one of the highest funded ratios. So that's very telling to me. And, you know, Plant Moran has a lot of municipalities that they audit. So, you know, again, something else we should feel really good about.
Dan, what did you say the floor was for being considered healthy or
40% for PA 202
40?
from the state of Michigan, yes. So,
Okay,
yeah. So also on page 1, the actuarial accrued liability decreased from 27.2 million in 2020 to 25.9 million. So again, that's going in the right direction. And again, 27.2 million is in 2020 dollars. So obviously if you do the future value of money and you do all those calculations, it would be higher. Our MERS trust, so basically any assets that we have to fund this is with a MERS and a trust. And the assets in the MERS trust in 2020, they were 16.2 million. And now it's 17.5 million. Again, the market wasn't great, but it still did increase over those 2 years. And that's also on page 1, sorry. The amortization periods reduced from 16 to 14 years. That's on page A2. And that's just every year when these actuaries are done, they shave a year off of, you know, it's my understanding, you know, once that the amortization period is 0, you would be 100% funded if you're not prior, you know, you could be funded 100% funded beforehand, but you know, at the amortization period is 0, then my understanding, you would also be 100% funded. Also, the assumed interest rate decreased from 7.25 to 7%. And that's basically from under pressure from, you know, state and federal officials. You know, I think we were using 8% for quite some time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like much of a change from 7.25 to 7%, but when you're looking at millions of dollars, that makes a difference. So basically they don't want to assume the rate of return is too good, and then the actual rate comes in much lower. And so now you actually owe a lot more money. So, you know, I support it's being conservative. The markets certainly aren't as great maybe as they used to be, and there's been some wild swings. So if we want to be conservative with the assumed rate of return, you know, I'm fine with that. So again, all in all, the funded ratio being at 67.4%, we should all feel really good about that. And we're really making some headway on this. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I didn't want to go into too many details, but I know this report may be new to some of you and just kind of wanted to cover it a little bit. So any other questions on this?
Commissioner Green.
Is there a minimum period of employment that an employee must work in order to qualify for the retirement program?
I'm sorry?
Is there a minimum period of employment that an employee must work in order to qualify?
A vesting period? So 8 years.
8 years.
Mhm.
Dan, do you want to explain that the majority of this is, it's a closed group?
Yeah, so this is, yes, that's a good point. So again, this is more for health insurance. That's the primary retiree health insurance. But that's for anybody that was hired prior to 1/1/12. So a lot of agencies, a lot of government agencies had to make some, hard choices back then because of funding situations and so on. So basically that we created a closed group. So anyone hired after 1/1/12 is not, does not receive this.
Okay,
And so that creates a closed group, which I think also helps with your funding too.
absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions on this?
And our goal has always been to get to 100% before we need to. And then stop these extra payments that we're making, right?
So that will present some other good problems to have when we're 100%. At that point, we have this trust with all the assets in there. Can we just, draw that down until it's zero? There are some rules that limit if you set up a trust for your retiree health insurance, you can only use it for that. We can't say, oh, we want to buy a truck. Sorry, Adam, but
Or a road grader, or
we want to buy a truck, so we're going to transfer some money out of there. That is, against what the laws were attempting to do, and so, and I think that's a good thing. But so when you're 100% funded, does that mean you start just drawing from there, or do you hold on to the money, but you want to make sure that you don't wait too long and then you can't, there's no more retiree health insurance? But that's going to be probably future generations' problem, but I think that'd be a good problem to have. But we're
Perfect world, this is funded so that our absolute last payment for retiree health care drains our trust down to zero in a perfect world.
well, and we're putting extra in every year, right? That's what I'm looking forward to, not feeling compelled to do, so that it, we're not making it that payment into the MERS trust. We've got that revenue freed up to do other things.
right. And I imagine when you're 100% funded, certainly that extra payment could go away.
Oh, I would think so.
Yes, yes. But I think also we're at 67%
Right.
funded because we've been making that.
Absolutely.
payment, yes.
I support continuing to make them, but when we
Right.
get to 100, I'm not interested in being at 125%.
Right, exactly.
No,
exactly.
nor would we recommend that
Yeah, we would
because we may
recommend
not
that, no.
spend it.
Right. Okay.
So any other questions on that at all?
I don't see any.
Okay, and then last but not least, Michigan, Protecting Michigan Pension Grant. We received acknowledgement that our grant was approved. We submitted for 2.5 million and the state is giving us $4.5 million. Why is that? Yeah, I know, let that sink in. Certainly, if the state wants to give us more money than we submit for, we'll take it. So there's some confusion as far as what report the state was using to determine how much below the 60% an agency was. And actually, I had some back and forth with our auditors with that 4.5 million, but the auditors also thought it was the 2.5. So anyway, we submitted it to the best of our ability, and I think they used our pension report from 2021 instead of 2020, something like that. I can get specifics if you want, but ultimately we were approved for $4.5 million. The money goes directly to MERS, so we don't see it as far as coming into the road fund, if you will. And with all my frustrations with the process and how long it took, it's been lightning fast, the approvals and everything. So on Friday, I received their approval letter that I shared with Cheryl. Yesterday, I received the electronic signature required by me. And then today, MERS also has signed it. So now we're just waiting on the funds to be distributed, which MERS said it might take until the end of the month, but we have signed agreements and basically now we're just waiting on the funding, so.
Let us know when the money hits the bank account.
So I did,
It's not
ask-
real, in my opinion,
Right.
until it
Yes.
shows up.
I did ask MERS to let me know
Okay.
once they receive it. They said absolutely. So the money obviously will go towards the unfunded liabilities for our pension. MERS will recalculate what the road commission owes. And we could pay a reduced amount, or we could continue to paying a higher amount, again, to address our unfunded levels. And I think Cheryl and I initially were thinking we would still pay that higher amount, because again, the goal is to get to 100% funded. You know, so just as a reminder, this just brings us up to 60% funded. So certainly we want to get to 100% funded, but I imagine that PA 202, when we submit it for next year, hopefully we're well above the 60%, so we don't have to do our waiver with our corrective action plan and all that. So
What are you going to do with all that free time, Dan?
yeah, I know. I'm really glad I don't have to worry about this anymore. And until we got the letter with the approval, which that was awesome, but then the higher dollar, you know, $2 million more is significant. Cheryl speculates maybe because, you know, the 720 million statewide, it seemed like there was a little bit extra that was available. So maybe they looked at higher numbers that way. I don't know. I think it was just the difference of what report they chose to use as far as, you know, with the grant awards. So
Congratulations.
Yeah,
All that
thanks.
hard work and nitpicking paid off, it looks like.
yes, no, I was thrilled, and I'm thrilled I don't have to worry about this anymore. And, you know, I still will be a little bit leery until like MERS says the money has been received. But, you know, obviously we have signed agreements and all that. So I think that would be hard to get out of at that point. So.
Will someone please let Gloria know? All right.
And that's all I have.
Way to end it on a high note.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ackerman.
All right, thanks, Dan. And last but not least, we have Adam Lape, our Director of Operations.
You got more for us, Adam?
I know.
He's actually been busy.
Yeah, kind of quiet. Adam Lape, Director of Operations. So an operations specific update here for the board. Local road program and primary road program resurfacing for the unpaved roads still ongoing in District 3 and District 4 throughout the county, and then move back into District 1 and District 5 and kind of keep alternating through District 6 for the rest of the year. So still quite a bit of work to do and getting some second and third agreements, as you see. So we keep finding work to do with some of the savings we recognize by just efficiencies of material delivery. So exercising that to every dollar we can get put on the road for the township. So the fog seal program is complete. We have a little bit of RPE, so that's a rapid penetrating emulsion, another type of surface sealer, surface treatment that we would like to put down, or we'll do that in probably.
What, rapid what?
That is rapid penetrating emulsion. And so that's basically another waterproofer type of material we spray. So we're going to try it on a primary road, South Church, this week, and start exercising that in some areas where we have heavier traffic, and see how it reacts to traffic. So it's the only way to test it is kind of out on the road. We tested at the Northeast Service Center last year on a parking lot. We learned how to apply it. We sprayed a little bit on a Scioto Township road, West Delhi. So we'll start now on the bigger roads and start testing that. That may be something intermediary to get us after year 1 and 2 of paving, to stretch out chip seal, crack seal, fog seal, all that even further down the line, which hopefully keeps these roads a little bit longer lifespan between milling and filling and pulverization. And then exciting news for the material storage building. Concrete will start being placed next week for the footing and the foundations. So we'll start moving some actual concrete, start laying that. And then also next week, we'll start some directional boring for the electric. So basically bringing that utility from our main generator area out underneath the buildings and then out subterranean all the way to the building, the new facility it is. So that's exciting. We're going to see a lot of work here. And so we're really excited to get that moving. So that update was literally while we're doing the working session that Dennis got that. So that schedule's set up. So barring any weather delays, we'll be doing that next week.
Right.
And a little note on the weather event that Brent kind of alluded to earlier. Last Wednesday, we had considerable windstorm and thunderstorm move through the area. A lot of tree damage. Crews kept pretty busy to about 9 o'clock that night. Obviously, a lot of power loss. And so a little bit delay for us to get the work done just because some of the lines were considered dangerous. So we had to kind of bounce around, skip a little bit. But for the most part, the crew was done in 5.5, 6 hours. Cleaning up is going to take us a little bit longer, but the initial storm response only took us a handful of hours. And then these last couple days, we're still chasing after stuff, still finding trees that were either hanging and didn't fall all the way down, or residual that someone had pushed off or just fell alongside the road. So as always, we got a little bit of cleanup ahead of us, but good, everybody's safe, equipment good. So thankfully it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it did get kind of rough there for a little bit
Yeah.
in the northwest of here. So we were lucky in this county.
Commissioner McCollum.
Madam Chair, thank you for getting rid of the trees in such a quick manner. I know on the way home that day, I was dodging trees
Yeah,
in the road. And each one I came across, I reported before I knew it was gone. They
well,
were,
thank you.
you know.
Yeah, they were good. They were moving literally after we kind of realized we were safe and it was just a thunderstorm left over and some wind and rain. The groups and the loaders and the trucks and we're literally like pouring out the gate like the rain was coming out the sky. So we were good. Everybody stayed after and just kept at it. So worked out great. It's a good group back there.
Thank you.
A lot of good work. So thank you. I'll forward that on to them. That is it for my update. I just wanted to thank everybody, thank Tiffany and the communications team, my staff for putting a lot of stuff together in short order for today. So it was a lot of fun. Tiffany's group from communication makes things exciting for us. So it's not just numbers on paper. So we had a lot of fun with it. So I just want to thank everybody for their time.
Thank you, Adam. Any comments for Adam? I really like the high friction treatment that you've got on some of the curves out my way. I
Yeah,
think it's
that's
made
actually
it-
from the safety part.
Yeah,
side, I think
I feel much more secure on the road and
that went down amazing. I was just made that note the other day. That laid down really nice in the
Yeah.
curves there on Pleasant Lake.
Yeah.
That's a really good.
and there's a visual cue now. When you come in, you're like, ooh, this is different. I better pay attention. Yeah,
That's an awesome
nicely
project.
done, everybody.
More to come.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Adam. Well,
That's it for staff. Thank you.
okay. Anything else, commissioners? I will note, please, that on August 14th, we have approved a special meeting. That's a Monday that begins at 9 a.m. for interviewing applicants for the managing director position, as well as on August 15th, the next day, 9 a.m. once again for the second round as needed, which is what necessitated Adam moving his report up on facilities and equipment to today from that period of time. Thank you for making that work. And then on August 15th, following those interviews, we have a 1 o'clock regular board meeting. Chat sessions tomorrow, I'm on call for August 2nd, and on August 9th, it's Commissioner Smers for that chat session. If there's nothing further to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Aaron, if you would, please.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smers.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green
Yes,
and Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
thank you.